Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation. We're breaking out with a new creation. It's been too long, we've got to unite now.
Paul Rodriguez has served as Mayor of Belize City, as well as Belize's first Ombudsman. Our Belize Watch team sat down with Rodriguez as he reflected on his early years, as well as his political career. We will have that discussion after this break to hear from our partners, Silkgrass Farms, The Barry, Minister Kevin Bernard, National Bank of Belize, Ministry of Blue Economy, and Del Martin.
Rice and beans, our Belizean tradition, made even better with Silkgrass Farms cold-pressed coconut oil. Rich in healthy fats and full of natural flavor, our coconut oil brings out the best in every dish. From seasoning the pot for rice and beans to browning that perfect stew chicken, cooked on low heat, the coconut oil adds depth and richness to the flavor of your dish. Even when frying plantain, the coconut oil, cooked with gentle heat, brings out the natural sweetness, giving them that golden, crispy finish. Bring the true taste of Belize to the table with cold-pressed coconut oil by Silkgrass Farms.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Vamos! Vamos bien con Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. South, East and West, Kevin is a true champion. 2020, Kevin came with a vision. Executed well, is a man on a mission. The work continues with new innovation. Plan Belize 2.0 activation. Benefiting the West, North to South and East. Infrastructure and opportunities. Plenty get done, plenty more to come. Kevin Bernard, you can continue depend on. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. South, East and West, Kevin is a true champion. Sports development, woman empowerment, infrastructure, youth involvement. Heart of a champion, full confident. Astonishing leader, no argument. Relentlessly with a passion and drive. Natural born leader, no one gets deprived. Dedicated to serving and provide. Belize in good hands, no one can deny. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. South, East and West, Kevin is a true champion. Champion, 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 champion. Hey, one time for the champion. Hey, two time for the champion. Hey, three time for the champion. Hey, everybody shout it out loud now. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. South, East and West, Kevin is a true champion.
Your dream home isn't just a house, it's where your future takes shape. At NBB, we go beyond financing. Our partnership with trusted professionals ensure you're supported at every step. We simplify the process, offering expert advice, personalized services, and fast approvals to make your journey stress-free. With NBB, you're not just buying a house, you're investing in your future with confidence and ease.
Action.
At NBB, we don't just help you finance your dream, we help you live it. National Bank of Belize, your partner every step of the way.
4 years ago, Belize's blue economy was a vision, a dream waiting to be realized. It was an untapped resource with immense potential, but lacked the leadership and strategy to truly thrive. Today, under the leadership of Honorable Andre Perez, Minister of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, that vision is no longer just a dream, it's a reality. The blue economy has become a cornerstone of Belize's growth, creating sustainable jobs, boosting our GDP, and preserving our natural heritage. Under the previous administration, our rich marine resources and coastal communities faced many challenges: limited innovation, missed opportunities, and a lack of direction. This administration has championed groundbreaking initiatives such as the National Adaptation Plan for the Coastal Zone and Fisheries sector, which is the first of its kind in Belize and is a testament to the Ministry's commitment to building a robust and sustainable blue economy. The Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, safeguarding lives, seas, and sustainability.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean?
I have the honor and privilege of being with Mr. Paul Rodriguez. And when we say Paul Rodriguez, he's a well-known Belizean, former Ombudsman, Director of the Broadcasting Corporation of Belize, Mayor of Belize City, politician, you name it. You know, media person. Don Paul, thank you so much for having me in your home.
Renee, I can't tell you how thankful I am and how pleased I am to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yes.
20, 30 years, I have lost count, you know.
Yes.
It's been such a long time since I've seen you, and the lovely lady and the young man I just got to meet, but I am sure I met him somewhere before. But you know, it's so appropriate that we should do this interview at this time, on this day, because that's where I'm going to start my story, if it's all right with you.
Yes. I want to know your story, Don Paul. That's why I'm here. I want to learn. I want from the beginning.
The big news in the not only city but country now is this little 5-year-old boy who was a student at Stella Maris, and somehow he lost his way in the traffic in Belize City and found his way somewhere where there was a pool of water or a body of water, and he drowned. The point I want to make with is that sometimes, whether you like it, I mean whether you are afraid or not, it's good to interfere or get involved in that type of story, because at the age of 4 years old, I suffered a terrible accident. Yes. My mother was cooking meat. I don't remember whether it was chicken or pork or what. This is more than 80 years ago. And we were living on Dean Street. And we used to use this, we used to call it a coal pot. It was a biscuit pan that you cut the edges, the 4 edges, and you created a stove out of that. You used firewood or coal, and you know, you'd put your pot or whatever. Well, on this day, my mother was cooking whether it was cow or pig, to make tamales. And this stove was on a table, kind of in the middle of the space, the kitchen, right? And a bottle broke, and I got under the table where on which the stove was, and apparently my back or my butt hit one of the supports of the table, right? And the whole thing came tumbling down, including the what was being cooked and the boiling water that splashed on the floor and then splashed on me, on my back, and on my face. My face got a terrible, I think they described it as a 33-degree burn. The right hand of my right side was, completely disfigured. And I was taken to the hospital. And the hospital at the time was on Gabriel Lane. This was an real old Belize hospital, right? It was a wooden building. And anyhow, fortunately for me, the bed where I was taken and put was right next to the bed of an elder, a general man, right? This man I didn't know at all. He didn't know me at all. I don't know if he knew my father or whatever, but I remember his name well. I'll never forget him.
Mm-hmm. Who's that?
He was Jose de la Rosa. Mm. And in the condition I was completely devastated. I self-respect, my self-image was completely shattered, destroyed. Well, this man was in there for what treatment, I don't know. But any time his family would bring him something as a treat in his illness, ice cream, for instance, he would take it, just look at it, and then take it and give it to me. Now, in those days, guys, ice cream was a great treat, yes, especially to a poor little boy, 4 years old, you know, living in the south side of Belize, a great treat. Yeah. So that, and any time his relatives brought him, I didn't get to know his relatives at all. The only person in his family I knew was he. And he would give me whatever they brought to him or share it with me. And
It's obvious, Tom Paul, that he made a lifelong impact on you.
Right? He was...
Here you are still being emotional when you talk about it. Yeah.
I can't forget it because he was so kind. And I was a complete stranger, I remember this man, and even when I was mayor of Belize City, as a mayor, I was in charge of the market. The market used to be at the bridge foot. The present bridge, the central bridge, Central Belize, and
the swing bridge.
The swing bridge, right? That's what we call the swing bridge. And he had a stall there. And the first time I went into that place, as I saw him, I remembered him. And I was so full of gratitude and thanks to this man who he had actually saved me from complete childhood depression. But that's not the whole story about that incident of my life, because then some months later, 6 months or more, I went to school. I went to St. Ignatius School. Mm-hmm. And there I met somebody else who impacted me powerfully. There was a nun, Mercy nun, teaching there. Mm-hmm. She was a kind of corpulent person, Sister Aloysius. Okay. And I remember her because most people didn't pay much attention to me. I was withdrawn and shy because of this tremendous scar on my face. But every lunchtime, they used to bring their lunch to the mercy nuns used to take her lunch. There were more than just she, but she would bring her dessert. And the dessert was peaches, you know. We used to get these tins of peaches that are soaked in syrup. Boy, and that was a treat to me then. It still is now, but I don't see it anymore.
Yeah, I recall those peaches in can, right? They came in can, and they were very delicious. Yeah.
The syrup was beautiful,
syrup.
and she would bring it to me. And so, that act of kindness by this lady just captivated me completely. And even as a grown man, I still remembered her. She was devastated because for a while I went to study for the priesthood. And when I came back, she was devastated because I had left that avenue of my life. And
where did you go to study for the priesthood?
St. Louis, Florissant, Missouri. I was a Jesuit.
How long did that last, your visit there?
About 8 years.
8 years.
And so I went at the age of 18, and at the age of 26, I decided, look, in consultation with the superior of the Jesuits, superior in that area, that, look, it's hard for you to continue in this type of life, so you're free to go. And he gave me papers of release from the vows I had taken, poverty, chastity, and obedience, and I became a layman.
You came back to Belize after to live?
Completely I could have stayed there, but it didn't occur to me that I would want to live there. I wanted to come back to Belize, so I came back to Belize. Well, we were at the pot for independence was really boiling then. This was about 1964, and we had just received internal self-government. Yeah. And the PUP were going whole hog, strong. But the opposition was not, they were pretty much alive. Philip Golson and others had done, Buntin Fuller, and these guys had done, Chubo Brown had done a good job of trying to keep the forces of opposition alive.
Yes, the NIP, no?
The NIP, well, the NP first, then
the NIP.
Became NIP.
HIP, then NP, HIP, NIP.
Yeah, yeah, and the NIP broke into different groups. For instance, PDM. When Dean Lindo came back from studying law in England, he started a new. Well, he was discouraged. He tried the NIP and realized, no, we're not going to make it to government. So he formed his own group, which he called the People's Development Movement. The People Development Movement. Anyhow, it was PDM, so nobody talked about what the D meant, right? So we all said PDM, right? Mm-hmm.
And can I ask you a question here on the formation of the PDM? I understood that it was formed because he, Dean Lindo, was trying to get Philip Golson, who was leading the NIP at the time, to focus more on economic issues as against George Price Strater selling to Guatemala, right? And I think there was some resistance, and that's why he formed the PDM, because he saw it as a more progressive avenue to take, as against stuck in the old saying, which was unfounded, that of George Price selling Belize to Guatemala. Is that so?
Well, I'm not so sure what Dean's motives were to start the PDM, but it had to do with leadership. Yeah. I think that Dean thought that the opposition would never make it to government under the leadership of Philip Golson, including the fact that, one of the things that Golson did, which kind of clouded this issue a bit, was he went away to study law in England, right? So he got, so he would get his law degree, and he thought maybe, as a lawyer, he would have a greater impact on Belize. But anyhow, in between, before that could well, he would be in touch with Belize because he had voices like the people who like Shobo Brong, and I think the guys, Alan Griffith, Bontin Fuller, these fellows are faithful members of the NIP and never abandoned Philip. Yeah. They stayed around and they made a lot of noise to try to make the PUP realize, look, you have an opposition and not everybody agrees with what you are doing. Yeah. And I think that message reached some people, some young people who are more in line with my age, but a bit older, like, for instance, Harry Lawrence, who was a businessman and who was who became the president of the Chamber of Commerce and the owner of the Reporter, And one day, Harry came to me. I was editor of the Reporter at the time. No, I had moved on to something else. But
let's go back to where you left. You came back to Belize. You got interested in politics. You really took on the side of the PDM. I take it.
No. Okay, let me get into.
I want to get how you got interested into politics. Yeah, how you got your feet into politics.
Well, for a while I did odd jobs. One of the things I did, though, in between was I was a teacher at St. Ignatius School for time, maybe a year or so. And the assignment, the first assignment given to me in standards 4, 5, and 6 at St. Ignatius, there were a crowd of young people, boys and girls, who were as big as me or maybe taller. But they were troublesome to all the teachers. So the principal, Sister, I forget her name, but she was a mercy nun. She took all of those, about 48 of them, and put them in one class and put me as teacher. Well, believe me, that was a great experience, though, because in less than a week, I had those troublesome people eating out of my hands. I mean, the principal, the nun was a principal, and she would pass there, and there was absolute silence. One voice was being heard, and that was not the voice of a child, but the voice of the teacher. I was telling some story to the students, and they would rapt attention and listen to the story I was telling. The story is one of the short stories derived from Les Miserables. Les Miserables is the wretched of the earth, right? Les Miserables. And this is a story of how a man, a hardened criminal, who became harder and harder the longer he stayed in prison, because he would be obstructive and destructive. He couldn't bear the pain of other rules and regulations.
Jean-Claude Valjean, no?
Huh? Jean Valjean was, he became a ruthless criminal, hating civilization. Well, that was the story I told. I told the story of his conversion. The original story is written by Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo, yeah. And the original story is a volume that thick, 1,457 pages, which I recently read. I knew most of the story, the core of that story, through a literature book that we used to use at SJC, and there were. Hollywood made several versions of that story, all of them beautiful. Tells you, Victor Hugo, to me, the scholars of literature and philosophy, like Peter Kreeft, who was the president of Boston College for umpteen years. He was the chairman of the philosophy and literature department at Boston College for umpteen years. Anyhow, he thinks that the brothers Karamazov is the greatest novel ever written. And I didn't tell him so, but if I met him, I'd tell no man, the greatest novel ever written was written by Victor Hugo. And well, it was written in French, really, the original. I read the translation. But that's the greatest story ever written to me. The story of this man who was completely paganized, completely dehumanized by his experience in prison, and killed. Once he was free, he escaped. He escaped into any town, and if you were eating something, and he came to you and grabbed it, leave it alone, because if you resisted, he would strike you down and kill you if necessary. So he became a complete barbarian. So this man, through his experience with a holy man, turned his life completely around and became a very, very wholesome. Actually, he became first of all he was mayor of a town, and then became a businessman. And became a very wealthy man. But his whole life still dedicated to helping other people. So that is a story. Anyhow, when I told the Standard 4 that story, man, they were eating popcorn out of my hands, And after that story, every story that I told them, they just swallowed hook, line, and sinker. Apparently, I became very good at telling that kind of story. So that was one great experience I had with those. By the way, one of the things I've done in my life is I had a little business downstairs of where I lived for 30, 40 years, 50 years, at 3 Iguana Street. I had a little store. One day a fellow came, a man, Creole fellow, right? But he was visiting from the States, and he came in, and we sold all kinds of things: Pampers, groceries, dry goods, tools, a general store. Anyhow, he ordered this and that and the other, sugar, flour, Pampers, and then he took out his U.S. money and paid me. When I was getting his change, when I was giving him his change, he says, "Mr. Paul, I didn't need these things to use, but I wanted to come and say hello to you and thank you." I said, "Thank me for what?" He says, "Yes, I remember now, you were one of my students in Standard 4, to whom I told the story of Les Miserables." He says, "Yes. When I went to States," he was just a primary school boy. He went to States, and at that point of his life, he was married to an American woman. He had 2 or 3 children. He owned 2 businesses, including one was a gas station. He says, "Sir, what you did for me and what the teachers in the States made me realize is that I'm not stupid." And that is something, that unfortunately we sometimes do to younger people. We make them feel that, "Look, man, your idea is not good. You're stupid," That's a big, big mistake. And, these are words that parents especially must be very careful. Never make your child feel like he or she is stupid. That is a killer.
That's a good lesson, because it resonates with me as well. I can remember when people tell me, "Boy, you only fooled." I tell them, "Yeah, but I banned from all fools day, so I got an excuse. Which one do you have?"
Good comeback, Chief. Good.
I come back with that.
But you've ever been good at a good comeback, right?
To me, that was my comeback. I banned for the day, so I have an excuse. What excuse do you have?
That's great, man.
So Paul, the story you're talking about, you did it after you left the seminary. You did the seminary, you came back and you taught. Did you do the story after teaching?
Well, before I taught, I did hard labor. Stretch Lightburn, you probably remember. He and a friend had a welding company, and one of the first things for a few months, 6 months, I worked hard labor. Did bring and carry and pull and back and, you know, as a hard labor. And that was good for me. That took me out of my past worries and so on, and brought me into a new context of life, you know, that life is about doing and living in this life and doing the best you can. Now you are doing hard labor, but I quickly moved up. And one of the things that got me noticed was Harry Lawrence was a staunch member of St. Ignatius Parish, and he and I and one or two other guys, sometimes we'd go to overnight worship. We would stay in church the whole night and pray. Well, as part of that contact with Harry, one day he came to, I think it was to my home. And by this time I was working at, I think I was at, no, I was at Reporter as the editor. Anyhow, he came along with Carl Thompson, who became minister in charge of the police in 1984. Anyhow, he came and said, look, Paul, we are thinking about starting a new political group, and we think that we want you in this group. And he explained a few things about but he explained, look, we aren't going to start and think that we're going to displace the NIP. He says, one of the things that the NIP, that the country needs, is for all the opposition forces to come together, unite and come together, and put out a different program from what the PUP is putting out. And we think that that group will be successful, because there are a lot of people who, the PUP seems to have the crowd right now, but there are a lot of people who don't agree with everything that the PUP says. So he says, and we want you to be a part of your group. So we'll start a Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party, I remember very well.
Party, remember that? Well, that led me to start a liberal newspaper.
Yes,
to sell. This became my income, you know, selling these papers. And I used to stand by the market, the old market by the bridge, Swing Bridge, and I used to sell my paper every Wednesday morning. My wife, Sonia, tells me that she was shy of passing by because she didn't want to see me selling newspapers like a common street boy, you know. And anyhow, that's what I did.
To set it a little bit in context, the liberal newspaper you were selling was your newspaper. Your newspaper. But the reporter was more for the Chamber of Commerce at the time, right?
By the time I had left that, Harry had bought the reporter.
He bought it out
to him. Yeah, so I was doing the liberal and putting forth the ideas of the Liberal Party. One of the ideas was that, look, independence, we all want independence, but maybe we ought to slow down a bit on it, maybe 10 years. And maybe we'll be better prepared if we take 10 years to prepare to become independent. Anyhow, that was the position that I especially took. Well, whether or not that would have been better for us, I think after the first period of independence, which was 1981, 1984, there was a new election, and going into the election, the PUP lost the election because the country was flat broke. You know, and I thought, well, I won't be a complete revisionist. You know, the revisionists try to rearrange history, and now I won't do that, because actually the PUP have done did a great job in winning independence. And, you know, that the country should attribute mostly, well, significantly to Assad Schuman and Said Musa. And I mention these two guys because they have played a significant part in my life.
We will have more of our conversation with Paul Rodriguez after this break to hear from our partners, Silkgrass Farms, The Barry, Minister Kevin Bernard, National Bank of Belize, Ministry of Blue Economy, and Nevermont.
Where they come from? You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one.
Rice and beans, our Belizean tradition. Made even better with Silkgrass Farms cold-pressed coconut oil. Rich in healthy fat and full of natural flavor, our coconut oil brings out the best in every dish. From seasoning the pot for rice and beans to browning that perfect stew chicken, cooked on low heat, the coconut oil adds depth and richness to the flavor of your dish. Even when frying plantain, the coconut oil, cooked with gentle heat, brings out the natural sweetness, giving them that golden, crispy finish. Bring the true taste of Belize to the table with cold-pressed coconut oil by Silkgrass Farms.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Vamos! Vamos bien con Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion. 2020, Kevin came with a vision. Executed well, he's a man on a mission. The work continues with new innovation. Plan Belize 2.0 activation. Benefiting the West, North to South and East. Infrastructure and opportunities. Plenty get done, plenty more to come. Kevin Bernard, you can continue depend on. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion. Sports development, woman empowerment, infrastructure, youth involvement. Heart of a champion, full confident. Astonishing leader, no argument. Relentlessly with a passion and drive. Natural born leader, no one gets deprived. Dedicated to serving and provide. Released in good hands, no one can deny. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion. Champion, 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 champion. Hey, one time for the champion. Hey, two time for the champion. Hey, three time for the champion. Hey, everybody shout it out loud now. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion.
Your dream home isn't just a house, it's where your future takes shape. At NBB, we go beyond financing. Our partnership with trusted professionals ensure you're supported at every step. We simplify the process, offering expert advice, personalized services, and fast approvals to make your journey stress-free. With NBB, you're not just buying a house, you're investing in your future with confidence and ease.
Action.
At NBB, we don't just help you finance your dream, we help you live it. National Bank of Belize, your partner every step of the way.
4 years ago, Belize's blue economy was a vision, a dream waiting to be realized. It was an untapped resource with immense potential, but lacked the leadership and strategy to truly thrive. Today, under the leadership of Honorable Andre Perez, Minister of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, that vision is no longer just a dream, it's a reality. The blue economy has become a cornerstone of Belize's growth, creating sustainable jobs, boosting our GDP, and preserving our natural heritage. Under the previous administration, our rich marine resources and coastal communities faced many challenges: limited innovation, missed opportunities, and a lack of direction. This administration has championed groundbreaking initiatives such as the National Adaptation Plan for the Coastal Zone and Fisheries sector, which is the first of its kind in Belize and is a testament to the ministry's commitment to building a robust and sustainable blue economy. The Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, safeguarding lives, seas, and sustainability.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one.
Paul Rodriguez has been involved in politics for several decades.
Don Paul, let's go back to the foundation of the UDP, which we know was made up of the NIP, the PDM, and your Liberal Party that you were a part of. How did all that come about?
We used to, well, first of all, the leadership of this thing came from Harry Lawrence. You know, Harry was the one who had this idea. Look, we can form the Liberal, and we had one meeting, and we saw, our experience from that one meeting was that most 90% of the people who attended that meeting were NIP. You know, so that convinced all of us that, look, the direction to go to is not a Liberal Party or an NIP or PDM or UBAD, but get all the forces, organize ourselves to get all the opposition forces together and form a united party. And this is what we did. And it was fortunate that at the time, living in Belize City was one person named, an elderly person, a retired clergyman. He was an Anglican priest, Father Gerald Fairweather. And I think Harry Lawrence was the one who made contact with him, and he agreed to be chairman of a meeting. And so we used to meet every week. I think it was maybe Wednesday afternoons at his place, Wednesday after work at his place, and we would discuss the various issues, political issues of the day. And I think, you know, gradually the crowd, there were about, I could see, 13 or 14 of us who met every Wednesday, I think, Wednesday evening. And we decided, look, we voted on it. It's best that we form a united party. And the first thing we decided, well, what are we going to call ourselves? The United Democratic Party. And we chose a flag. We first of all designed a flag. We thought of having an anthem. And I don't think anybody was for changing the anthem, because let me tell you, we used to end all our meetings, and that showed good foresight, because we used to end the UDP meetings, every single one of them, with a rendition of the national anthem spoken by Ken Tillett. Ken Tillett, yeah. And I tell you, there are I think the three greatest orators that I've ever heard in my life, that I heard live, were Winston Churchill, John Kennedy, who became the first Catholic president of the U.S., and Ken Tillett.
Ken Tillett, yeah.
That guy was, man.
I remember Ken Tillett very well.
When he spoke, I tell you, everybody, man, woman, and picnic would come around. Boy, that man make I feel cold seed on the whole of my body. That guy was a powerful orator. And by the way, to get into the politics, when he ran in the colored division, which was the largest division in the country at the time. And he ran against the great Harry Courtney, Vernon Harrison Courtney. And that election was held I think it was September of 1974. This was not just a little over a year after the UDP was formed. The UDP was declared as a party on August 23rd, 1973. That election was held, I think it was either September or October 1974. And Ken Tillett lost the colored division by one vote.
One vote, yeah, one vote.
And, well, out of that, politicians are sometimes very imaginative and very humorous people. Out of that, Shubo Brown spun the story that somebody was at the count, and I tell the story that when the votes are being counted, one for Harry, one for Ken, it was going to be a tie, right?
Yeah.
And Derek, Harry's younger brother, took one of the votes that was debatable, was being debated whether it was good or bad, and he took it, thrust it into his mouth and chewed it up and swallowed it. Yeah. Now this was a Shubo Brown story, and everybody bought it. Everybody on our side bought the story,
Well, that means substantiated really by law, nowhere, right?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, but But it
did exist.
That's something like that did happen. It was a close one.
Very close. Right.
One difference. Anyhow, in that election, Ken lost by one vote. Paul Rodriguez lost by 4 votes. And I have to tell you this part.
You were in Pickstock, right?
I was in I chose the smallest division in the country. Anyhow, when I told my friends and relatives why I'm going into politics, oh yes, what division you run? Pickstock. For the PUP? No man, I run for the UDP. He said, man, you crazy or what? You don't stand a chance. I said, yeah, but I run for the UDP. I lost by 4 votes. Madame Lay's son, not Madame Lay's. Madame Lay's retired and she gave the place to her son, Adolfo. And I beat him. He beat me by 4 votes. But then in Corozal, 7 weeks after the group in Corozal called the CUF, C-U-F.
Corozal United Front.
Yes. There was a guy in that front called Lionel Taylor. That was Ken's older brother. And let me tell you, he was not as good a speaker as Ken, but he was great, and he lost by 12 votes. So within a year of being formed, we almost tied the PUP. Because if I had won by 4 votes, lacking 4 votes, Ken by 1, and Lionel by 12. That was, I think, about 17 votes.
Yeah.
And we had won 6 other divisions. We would have tied. It would have created a constitutional crisis. So, I think this story is very significant and apropos and useful, especially for people who are thinking politically today. At this point. And I think I myself, several months ago, said, look, man, the PUP are going to win 3 elections. No more come back for the UDP until maybe after 15 years. But people remind me, look, you remember your own history book. And when people tell you you were crazy to run in Pickstock, and you remember what happened, you remember Ken, you remember Lionel, and so this is a warning to politicians. Don't be too sure that you're going to win, guaranteed. It's, that's the beauty of elections. That's the beauty of democracy, that people make up their mind. Sometimes you may think that you got them. I remember my wife tells the story of, she was my campaign manager. She and a lady, I don't think she minds my calling her name, Helen Main, they visited this old man several times. He was completely blind, and they were hammering, vote for Paul Rodriguez. Had him repeat the name over and over. They went for him on the election day, 1974 election, took him up, took good care of him. And when the man was confronted by the election officer, who you want to vote for, sir? Because he had to be assisted, right? And he says, I want Judge Price. I want Judge Price. My poor wife said she felt like taking him to the step and throwing him down the step. Anyhow, she was never a violent person, but strong-minded though. But she was not completely, she was devastated, But she still continued the work for the rest of the day.
No, Paul, so the UDP narrowly lost that election in 74, but what happened with you after that event?
Well, then after that, I ran in the city council election, and 5 others of the original group, Ken Tillett, Harry Lawrence, Ken Tillett, and we picked up 1 or 2 other people, and we ran, and we won in the city council. We didn't win all, we won 6 out of 9. But I have to tell you that the following election, the PUP thought, this guy Paul, when we win again, we got to put up the best candidates we can put up. And let me tell you, to make a long story short, the leader of...
But let's go back a little bit to the city council. What role did you occupy in the city council? You're not made mayor at that time, right?
No, yeah. You voted for the councillors in all the town boards. And the
councillors would select the mayor.
And the councillors selected me as a mayor. So I was mayor for 3 years.
In that term?
In that term.
That first term that you did, you were mayor for 3 years.
Then, they thought, move on a man who's a winner, so they left me there.
So now we come to the elections in 79 now.
79, right? And the PUP gathered a group that they called the Dynamic 9. And they were dynamic indeed, because that group included Evan Hyde, Lois Young, Signa York. These are all George Dakers who had been...
Talking to the council elections.
The council election. And Said Musa.
Yes, I remember those, yes.
And guys, I have to tell you the history. They were wasted away by Paul Rodriguez. I mean, I just beat them by hundreds of votes. And, 2 of the men who one of them won, Manuel Esquivel, but he came far 3rd after Ken, and after me first. So, politics is, at the time, I mean, I was a top of the line politician, but, I, to go further than that, I don't know, my experience.
What happened in general elections 1979 now? Because that was city council elections. Now let's move to 1979 general elections were also held, right? What happened then?
Well, then that was a different story.
You ran that?
I ran, and my opponent was Jane Usher.
That's right.
And she was formidable, and she beat me. And after that, I still remain mayor, but after that I said, guess what? I'm not going to become mayor again. They're not going to, the city isn't going to re-elect me as mayor. So I decided, look, I'll move on. And I went into business, and I built a building, a one-story on the same place where my building that I built still stands. But it was one story, and that's where I opened a general store. But, the important thing for me was that going into the 1979 election, I thought that I would have to make a decision to change my whole outlook on life. Mm-hmm. And I decided one of the scriptures, the Bible that has impressed me the most, and this was from my days as a Jesuit seminarian. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world but suffer the loss of his immortal soul? And one of my advisors, the main one, told me, look, if you want to win, you got to read this book. And he gave me a copy of this thick, very thick tome of work, Machiavel, I used to say Machiavel, right? And his philosophy is, you want to succeed in public life, you gotta court the rich, you gotta do what the rich want you to do, and you got to follow them, follow their way. I said, no, what does it profit a man to get? No, my friend, take your tome, I know about that man, I don't want to have anything to do with him, and I have to live, but yeah, that's not my game at all. I don't want to give away my soul for a mess of pottage. Mm-hmm. And I got out of politics. Well, I was kind of pushed out of it because the UDP they won in 84. No? The following election, they won.
You were kind of thing pushed out. How were you pushed out?
Followed a trend. For instance, when they started their first meeting of the
after 79 election. No?
Yeah, this is their victory. This is 84. When they started a meeting, they would.
Oh, you were pushed out in 84, not in. Yeah. But so between 79 and 84, you did not contest any division between 79 and 1984.
That's quiescing.
Yes, that was the year. That was the time when Belize got its independence. Yeah. Now, if I could just pass a little bit down, Paul, and ask you. How, when we were moving into independence in 1980, with that United Nations resolution, and 1981, or Independence Day, yeah, what were you doing and what was going through your mind, and how did you feel around that independence time?
I was in business, and remember, I was the main one who proposed from the UDP pulpits, look, man, we want independence, but in 10 years' time. And that's right. So independence wasn't a great celebration for me. But I want to say that the PUP were on the ball, and what put them more on the ball was they picked two of the most brilliant young politicians, Asad Shuman and Syed Musa, to be in touch with the non-aligned movement. And kind of become one of them. And a couple of years ago, I wrote in the report, that those two guys should tell that story, because that was a coup that those two guys scored on behalf of Belize. I mean, this takes away nothing from George Price, because George Price,
the choir.
Yeah, right,
he was the one that told them what to do.
He told them, Assad and Said, and Said and I kind of became like friends. When he became prime minister, he nominated me as ombudsman.
But moving up, before we reach there, Paul, moving up in the timeline now, we're between 1979 and 1984. 84, and then towards the ending of 84, the UDP won the elections for the first time as in an independent Belize. And then that's when you felt that they were pushing you aside, right? That's what I'm understanding?
Well, they weren't, I don't know if they were pushing me aside, but they were doing things that I didn't like.
You didn't like, okay.
You know, like, for instance, instead of appealing to the poor people in their divisions, one or two of the leaders were, you know, courting the rich and powerful. And I have always been a person who wants to be in touch with the poor and do for the poor. And as a matter of fact, one of my greatest friends, whom I regard, I have the highest regard for him, he's dead now, Joe Andrews. He is the most charismatic politician that I have ever known. That includes, Judge Price was extremely charismatic, but Joe was a different charismatic. He was like a high-class, charismatic person. He would, all the old ladies that came around, and he'd kiss them and hug them, and no matter how poor and ragged that person was, he was a people's man. Recently, I tried to reach out to a member of his family, not the last town board election, but the one before. The PUP won only one town board seat, town council now, one seat. And that was won by a lady named Bernadette Fernandez. She is the sister of Joe Andrews, you know. And so I mentioned her, I wrote a note, I kind of have a letter to her in the report, you know, hoping that she would pick up on that and use the memory of her brother as a way of bringing the UDP back, you know, but nobody followed that. And it's...
So what year did you leave the UDP officially?
Around, I would say, 84, 85.
So soon after the election, you decided to leave the UDP. You felt the distancing and they were not going the right way, and you...
In fact, in 89, really, I showed my true sentiments. Francis Gegg.
What you did in 89, yeah?
Francis Gegg was the spokesman, the spokesperson, the organizer for Joe Koi in the Freetown Division. Yeah. And one of the two of the persons that were affected by the change of attitudes of the UDP was two people who were, they were flesh and blood UDP. They would give their life for the UDP. And, you know, the UDP just shunted them aside when they got into power, and that really annoyed me greatly. So I campaigned with Francis Gegg against, for Joe Koi.
Yeah. That's the Freetown Division.
Yes, that's in the Freetown.
Division, right?
So that's really when I broke with the... But again,
that was between 85 and 80. So 89 elections, you were already formally in the PUP camp.
89, I became PUP.
In 89? In 89.
In the sense that I actively tried to help them.
The
PUP, yeah.
I know the PUP won those elections narrowly because the UDP had expected to do a clean sweep. I can remember the UDP expected a clean sweep, but the PUP barely won those elections in 1989. What happened then for you?
Well, let's see. I just was in the woods after that. I was running my business. Remember, by that time I had a nice little business, but it kept my
family going.
Put bread on the table every day.
So in 1990, the PUP freed up Radio Belize, the broadcasting department. I am familiar with that story so much because I was the chief broadcasting officer that was part of that freedom, right? As a matter of fact, I along with Said Musa, I consider myself as perhaps two of the most instrumental people in freeing up the media in Belize. Said Musa, of course, played the political role, which is a greater role, which is to really subscribe to all the ideas of freedom and being put to power. Let me hear a little part.
I did that, my little part, because as a result of that election, which the PUP won, close, but they won, I was appointed by the minister to head the transport board.
Yes, I remember that.
I said, no, man. I told him, no, I don't want that. I don't want to be no member of no transport board. I don't want to be the chairman at the time, transport board. I want to go where the radio is. Right. And that's how the chief and I got to interact somewhat, because, and once or twice, I put my foot down when the chairman was going too much against the organization of the radio station. I said, no, that didn't go like that.
Well, for those listening, let us clarify that what that really meant. It meant that up until 1990, September 1990, Radio Belize, the only media in the country, was a government department directly managed and controlled by a minister of government. Right. What the creation of this corporation meant was the freeing up of the airwaves for the first time, where you had opposition viewpoints for the first time on the national radio, and instead of the minister being directly in control, you had a board of directors now with a chairman and what have you. And you were part of that first board of directors of the Broadcasting Corporation of Belize. And that, like you said, that's where the interaction really started between you and I, because we held pretty much the same beliefs that the media should always be free to carry both sides of a story and that sort of thing. And so we stood up for that. But anyway, you go ahead.
Norris was the appointed chairman.
He was the second chairman. Eustace was the first, remember?
Oh, yeah, Eustace, then Norris Hall. And in both cases, in both situations, I was on the side of getting this thing going really as a reliable source of information for the whole of Belize.
That is so.
Not only for government or PUP or, this has to be the servant of all the people. So that's why I stood, and I guess, some people didn't take too kindly about that.
In our final segment, Rodriguez speaks on his appointment as Belize's first ombudsman. We step aside to hear from our partners, Silkgrass Farms, The Barry, Minister Kevin Bernard, National Bank of Belize, Ministry of Blue Economy, and Del Martin.
Rice and beans, our Belizean tradition. Made even better with Silkgrass Farms cold-pressed coconut oil. Rich in healthy fats and full of natural flavor, our coconut oil brings out the best in every dish. From seasoning the pot for rice and beans to browning that perfect stew chicken, cooked on low heat, the coconut oil adds depth and richness to the flavor of your dish. Even when frying plantain, the coconut oil, cooked with gentle heat, brings out the natural sweetness, giving them that golden, crispy finish. Bring the true taste of Belize to the table with cold-pressed coconut oil by Silkgrass Farms.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Vamos bien con Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard, Kevin Bernard. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion. 2020, Kevin came with a vision. Executed well, is a man on a mission. The work continues with new innovation. Plan Belize 2.0 activation. Benefiting the West, North to South and East. Infrastructure and opportunities. Plenty get done, plenty more to come. Kevin Bernard, you can continue depend on. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion. Sports development, woman empowerment, infrastructure, youth involvement. Heart of a champion, full confident. Astonishing leader, no argument. Relentlessly with a passion and drive. Natural born leader, no one gets deprived. Dedicated to serving and provide. Belize in good hands, no one can deny. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion. Champion, 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 champion. Hey, one time for the champion. Hey, two time for the champion. Hey, three time for the champion. Hey, everybody shout it out loud now. Champion, champion, Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Kevin Bernard is the people's champion, champion, champion. Kevin is the champion, 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 champion. Southeast and West, Kevin is a true champion.
Your dream home isn't just a house, it's where your future takes shape. At NBB, we go beyond financing. Our partnership with trusted professionals ensure you're supported at every step. We simplify the process, offering expert advice, personalized services, and fast approvals to make your journey stress-free. With NBB, you're not just buying a house, you're investing in your future with confidence and ease.
Action.
At NBB, we don't just help you finance your dream, we help you live it. National Bank of Belize, your partner every step of the way.
4 years ago, Belize's blue economy was a vision, a dream waiting to be realized. It was an untapped resource with immense potential, but lacked the leadership and strategy to truly thrive. Today, under the leadership of Honorable Andrea Perez, Minister of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, that vision is no longer just a dream, it's a reality. The blue economy has become a cornerstone of Belize's growth, creating sustainable jobs, boosting our GDP, and preserving our natural heritage. Under the previous administration, our rich marine resources and coastal communities faced many challenges: limited innovation, missed opportunities, and a lack of direction. This administration has championed groundbreaking initiatives such as the National Adaptation Plan for the Coastal Zone and Fisheries Sector, which is the first of its kind in Belize and is a testament to the ministry's commitment to building a robust and sustainable blue economy. The Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, safeguarding lives, seas, and sustainability.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one.
Rodriguez shares one of his biggest regrets after leaving the post of Ombudsman.
There's one thing I don't know if we want to leave this. There's one thing I want to mention that bothers me about human rights. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I regret that the that nobody has made fuss over the fact that this fact, Chief, rights are a two-edged sword. There's your right, but you have duties and responsibilities.
Exactly.
And this that I printed here.
Your right does not give you the right to infringe on my rights.
Right.
That's what you're.
That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying. You know,
The provision.
right is limited by your right. You know, and I find that sometimes people who are like in an agenda like the transgender agenda, like they are trying to force this thing on everybody, their point of view on everybody, their right. And, like I resisted. I said, look, man, you have a right, but I have a right too.
Well, the Belize Constitution really says the provision, and I'm reading from what you wrote because it's directly from the Constitution. The provisions of this chapter shall have effect for the purpose of affording protection to these rights and freedoms subject to such limitations of that protection as are contained in those provisions, being limitations designed to ensure that the enjoyment of the said rights and freedoms by any person does not prejudice the rights and freedoms of others or the public interest.
The strange thing is,
in other words, you have a right to be who you want to be without prejudicing who I want to be.
It amazes me that everywhere, and I traveled to several countries, man, everybody is talking about rights. I asked them, one time I asked the Ombudsman of Barbados, who is also a professor of law, I said, man, when are we going to talk about our duties and responsibilities as citizens? So I let somebody else talk about that. And that's what the human rights people that I've had contact with, that's all they do is talk about their rights. They don't talk about their duties and responsibilities.
Before I continue, Don Paul, though, I want to pay tribute to your daughter, Pauline, right? Pauline Rodriguez Romero, right? I can remember Pauline as a young lady starting to work at Love FM. She was working at with me at the Broadcasting Corporation of Belize. I left, and then she joined us at Love FM some months later. And played a key role in the early days of Love FM, a very, very key role in building multimedia systems and Love FM. And I see you have an excellent relations with her, right? You still maintain that excellent relationship, father-daughter relationship.
Yes.
What do you do about Pauline?
Well, actually, she is named Pauline because I thought when I gone and I got to see the baby, she was born at I think the Holden Memorial, and I asked the nurse or somebody, the boy or the girl? The girl. I said, oh, Lord, okay, we call her Pauline then. Yeah, well, of course. Renee, my daughter, and I have been close ever since. And what a girl, she's more than made up for a boy, which we didn't have, She's a treasure, and she has been the support of her husband, and,
she's a visionary.
And her work discipline and so on started with Love FM and with in your office. She correctly says that I was properly trained under the great Rene Villanueva.
No, Paul, I will always appreciate what Pauline did in those early days. When they did election coverages and whatnot on Love FM, where the length and distance she would go to get a story. Right.
She'd go to extremes. She'd go to.
You trained her well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, no, Paul. So let's go back now to 1998. The UDP lost those elections. The PUP won, and Said Musa became prime minister.
PUP won a massive landslide.
Landslide victory. Yeah.
I think they won all but three. Three seats. And. Next thing, about several weeks after, Godfrey Smith appears at my shop door. Prime Minister Musa would like to appoint you as ombudsman. I said, okay, give me 3 days, let me think about it. And I mean, the moment he asked me, I knew, I practically knew that I was going to say yes. I don't know, I think, one of the things, the problems that I've had is I get bored easily, Chief.
Really?
I get bored, well, easily, when I do something 10 years or so, man, I don't know where to do it. I want to do something else, The only thing I haven't been bored with in life that involves people is my wife, right? So, we have been married almost 60 years now. And we continue to live together. We continue to cherish one another. And I don't think that even if I wanted to, I am in any position to change my marital status, right? Yes. So I stay with Sonia, and she's been a treasure to me. And throughout my life, she has been my support and backup. She's always there to guide me, to push me on, and remember my promise to do so. And so, she pushes me sometimes to do what I was hesitant to do because of fatigue or some other reason. So I have been blessed. And I've had only one daughter. Well, but God gave me other children, not by blood, but, by adoption. And so they have been wonderful people to me, and I love them, and I love their children. So God has blessed me with a big family.
So what did she say when you accepted to become ombudsman?
Well, I don't know. I think she was happy. I don't remember her exact. I don't remember what words she used, but I know that she approved and she said yes. Go there and do it. Do your best.
She supported you.
She has always been supportive. Whatever I did, And when I started the store, when I went into politics, she became my
your campaign manager. You told me.
Manager, and so.
No, ombudsman. It was the first time an ombudsman was appointed in Belize. So you made history there, becoming Belize's first ombudsman. As you started to put the office together, what was going through your mind? How hard was that for you?
One of the things, well, actually, it wasn't that hard, Chief, because the government provided for me a list of people, men who were practicing ombudsmanship at the time, about 6 or 7 men to choose as advisors to come to Belize. And
from other countries, right?
From other countries, not from Belize. And one of them was this guy from New Zealand, Sir John Robertson. And I had was fixing on this guy from a Caribbean island. I said, no, this is going to be the guy. This guy had studied, he was not a lawyer. He had studied getting things done at the Brookings Institute. I said, no, that's the man I want. And I brought him to Belize at his country's expenses. His country paid for him to stay 6 or 7 weeks in Belize. And man, he taught me everything he knew about ombudsmanship. And I remember we went to all the media, and everywhere they would say, man, but don't you need a lawyer to do this? I said, no, I'm not a lawyer. And he was chairman. He was elected the chairman of the Ombudsman, the International Ombudsman Association. So he was good. And boy, he showed me all the different things all the pamphlets he did, he sent out to the different departments of government and so on. And he would tell everyone when we visited the Belize media, don't you need a lawyer, man? Don't you think the ombudsman should be a lawyer? He says, oh, I'm not a lawyer. And he says, all you need is a person who's well-known throughout the country, one who gets things done, and one who can read the English language properly. And as far as he could tell her, and you have the man right there who can do that. And that's one of the problems that I had, Chief, was that one or two people thought that the office needed a paid lawyer.
I remember those debates.
Spain offered to put a lawyer in my office. I said no. They were going to pay him $300 a month. I said no, I don't want no lawyer in my office. I said, first of all, you're not paying no lawyer $300 a month. You'd talk about maybe, it was $300 a week. I said you'd talk about maybe $3,000 a week or so. No, not $300. But wherever I went, people were only talking about rights. Only about human rights, and I had to keep on telling. And let me tell you some of the places I went to. Denmark, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Salvador, the islands, Barbados, St. Lucia. I went to most of the Caribbean islands. And everywhere, everybody's talking about rights. Nobody talking about duties and responsibilities, concomitant duties and responsibilities. And I said, look, I need to convince all these people who know about the Ombudsman that the article of the Declaration of Human Rights by the UN should have a section on the duties and responsibilities of citizens. And I searched for those, found it nowhere. Guess where I found that angle of the ombudsmanship? Chapter 2 of the Constitution of Belize. You got it? It's there. It's laid out right there. And you were kind enough to read that passage, which tells you that's a story. Yeah. That's a true story. That's the second part, that's the second edge of the sword of ombudsman, of rights. Yeah. Rights. And if you've studied a little philosophy, you'll know, and you don't even have to study philosophy, you know that, look man, rights are two-edged sword because everybody got rights. Mm-hmm. So you got right, but I got right too. So
your rights does not give me the right to intrude on your rights.
That's right, you know. But nobody talked about that in a conference in Barbados, and I was listening keenly to the presenter because, first of all, because of his name, Chevans. That's a surname I'm used to in Belize, right? Chevan. Remember Chevans, Lemonade and Battling, and then they're related to my wife. Yeah, Buster is related to my wife. Anyhow, and he was a Jesuit, an ex-Jesuit. So I listened attentively. After the talk, I nudged, it was a great talk, I nudged the Ombudsman of Barbados, who was two-time Ombudsman of Barbados and a professor of law at the university. I said, man, when are we going to talk about duties and responsibilities? Look to me and say, probably with disdain. Let others talk about that. I don't know if that part, my addition with disdain. No, but you know, and it amazed me how all of these guys, supposed to be top lawyers, don't talk about duties. And that's basic to me. Uh-huh. That's basic philosophy. Yeah. Rights are a part, are an aspect of justice. Yes, right. The virtue of justice. But justice is a two-edged sword. I am just, but you must be just to the other person too. How are you just? When you respect his rights, just as you want him to respect your rights. Mm-hmm. So, but anyhow.
So wouldn't you say, summarize in that part of the Bible that says, love God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself?
Really, you're a genius. That's exactly what it means. That's where it comes. That's exactly where it comes from. Yeah. Love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. Basic. So,
more respect, give respect.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, I sometimes I tell people, look, as a little boy, I knew the chief homosexual in Belize, Nides, you remember the name? And also, as I grew up, we had another one, a very popular fellow, Carmen Miranda, you remember? Carmen, man, that's the guy used to, yeah. Well, these are the ones that I knew, right? Because Carmen used to work at Bellevue. My brother worked at Bellevue as a chef. And when you see Carmen, say, boy, you know what? Your brother is a very good-looking fellow, you know, but you better looking. And but I said, okay, Carmen, okay, but you know, I have no date with me, though.
Yeah, because he has a right to be who he wants to be.
And he laughed, and you know, I laughed, and he laughed, and that's the way, and that's the way we should be, man. Let people be what they want to be, you know. But you have to respect the idea that we put in our constitution the business both family, because if we not build family, boy, we disappear from the face of this earth.
Yeah. Don Paul, as ombudsman, you did 3 terms. Yeah. So you're ombudsman from 1999, I would take it, until
2008.
Mm-hmm. That's historic, really. I don't think we have had a second ombudsman that has run so many terms since that first time. Don Paul, what would you say is the biggest takeaway that you have and that remains with you from being ombudsman for such a long time?
One of the things I think that I try to instill in Belizeans, and I still feel that I haven't succeeded, and my successors, not there at all. You know, the fact is that the ombudsman gives every single citizen who complains to him an access to the most powerful people in the nation. The ombudsman reports not, somebody asked me, who the minister as ombudsman? He has no minister, his National Assembly. You report to the National Assembly. Huh? You have no boss, you are your own boss. The National Assembly is your boss. And no matter who, Governor General or anybody, that somebody comes and complains to you about some lack in the service, well, first of all, you make the person aware, right? You should. So you investigate and you make him aware. Give him a chance to correct. If he doesn't correct and insists on not correcting, then you report him to the National Assembly. And that's the biggest, highest court. You don't need no lawyer. That's the biggest, highest court you can go to and express the grievances of the person who has complained to you. I mean, you don't need no lawyer. You don't need to go to court. So that is my biggest regret, that I have not been able to convince the people with power. Look, man, the ombudsman doesn't need a lawyer in his office. What he needs to do is he needs to read the laws of Belize, read the law, especially the one that pertains to him. The Ombudsman of Belize, that's a law. And he must know that thoroughly. And he must apply it strictly. And we talk about corruption. It's very easy to cure corruption in Belize, you know. What you do is you take the representation of the people's ordinance. That's the law that talks about elections and the representatives and so on. Put a clause in there saying that after 6 months of being elected, every single person elected has to give and report a statement of assets to the Integrity Commission. And then the Integrity Commission has to submit that report to the National Assembly. And if he doesn't, then the Ombudsman has the duty to tell him, look, this man hasn't given a statement of his assets. Require it of him. And if you don't require it of him, I will require that you do your job. Yeah? And look, if I'm representative, in the first statement say, look, I own $450 billion like Mr. Musk. Say, oh yes, but in the next year, he report that he owe $900 billion. Then you say, oh yeah, okay. Where you get the other $450 billion from? and he have to answer you. If you don't answer, then you report him to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly will eject him. You know? So that's the way to solve. But look, this is not a perfect world. Nowhere, no. Even the mighty United States of America, man, they got so much corruption, so much everywhere. The British, the French, none of it perfect. So, yeah, people go into politics. Young men, you know why they want to go into politics? Not all of them, thank God. Some of them want to go in there because they want to get rich. Yeah? You have to check them, though, you know. Even if you have the most strict law, you know, people will still find a way of making money, extra money. Yeah? There's no perfect law to stop evil if you want to stop evil. There's no perfect law. Minimize it, right? That's what we need to do. Instead of running to become rich, encourage the young people who you know, who are talking about, look, it is a privilege to serve. Teach them that. Mr. Price used to say that, right? After one while, it's a privilege to serve. You know? Then, a lot of we want serve to become rich.
So you retired at 2008. You're telling me at age 70, right?
Yeah.
And so how has retirement been for you?
Well, I have never completely retired because I do other things, you know. I mean, I volunteer to do. I even was a teacher at Belize High School for a whole year, voluntary, and at the primary school for half a semester. You know, I do things like that, and I attend church every day, every morning. When I was well, I used to go to Mass at St. Ignatius. So I'm trying to do, I interact a lot with my family, with my grandchildren. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren, but I also have other children who are related to me by adoption, right? And some of them live in the States. We communicate with them regularly. So I've kept busy, and I'm never bored. I'm never bored, but you know, I find things to do. And I like to play cards, but there's one game in cards that bridge, they call it bridge, where you deal out all the cards. But right now we have a shortage of bridge players. When you know, I learn to play.
I'm going to make you teach me. Definitely I'm going to make you teach me.
You need 4 people to play the game now. You know, partners against partner. Yeah. So I enjoy interacting with my grandchildren and enjoy being interacting with my daughter. Sometimes she scolds me because I'm too passionate. But
as a good
when they're like you, I haven't lost my passion, boy. I've lost a passion for life.
Well, let's not lose that, Paul. Right? Yeah. Let's not lose that, right? And as a good Belizean, what words of advice would you have to your fellow Belizean living in a free, sovereign, and independent Belize?
I'd say, to me, it's simple, you know. Be the best person that you can be. And I tell you what, all of us, every single one of us, have a seed of goodness in us. Every single person. God did not create garbage. God created the best. Now it's up to each one of us to find what that best means for me, for you, Chief, for you, for Pauline, for everybody. You must find all the way that someone. Yes, right. And we're all chosen, like the great, the author of The Chosen, this great story of the Bible that Dallas Jenkins has done. He has written a continuous essay which he has put on a podcast or something, YouTube, and it's called The Chosen Ones. And each and every one of us is a chosen one. We are chosen. We are the apple of God's eye. Every single one of us. Don't care how much sin you have, how much sin you have committed. All you need to do is say, "How you put up with me?" You know. But I believe in you, God. I believe in you. Please help me.
Okay. Before I leave, while I was listening to you just now, my mind went on that poem my grandfather wrote, right? The best, because you mentioned the word best several times, right? Reverend James A.C. Eliot.
Eliot, right?
Right. You know about the man, right?
Yes, I know him.
Right? Yeah, you know, the poem is, and this is the one that's guided me, and so I think that summarizes how you would have lived your life, from what I understand. If what you have done is all you could, the best, then be content and leave to God the rest. Things fluctuate, nor joy nor sorrow stays, oft changing scenes and changing moods amaze. But he who learns that in all things there is good, that passing failures are but strengthening food, will climb the hill, though his defeats confess, and push through all to sweet success. And you have had a successful life.
Boy, that man, as your grandfather is a genius. That man, everybody should know that poem by heart.
Yeah.
I'll ask Pauline to write it down for me, and I'll say it every day.
I promise you I will send Pauline a book.
Okay.
With it in there.
Please, yeah.
Right.
I will say it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the first thing I do every day, and I pray. Yeah. And that's a prayer. To me, that's a prayer. Yeah. More than a poem, it's a prayer.
Well, Don Paul, I want to thank you for an enjoyable morning sitting here talking with you and reminiscing about the past. You certainly brought back a lot of memories to me. I even had to interject several times about even the BCB and remembering the role you played in, and the times we met and interacted with each other. You know, so I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity of being in your home and talking with you, right? And to thank you for all you have done for our country. Right? And also, like you were rightly saying, we do the best, and you did your best. I will certainly continue trying to do my best, right? And we leave to God the rest. But the inspiration for all we do comes from love, right? Love inspires everything we do. Love for just love just love what you're doing, and you don't work a day in your life, right? So, but love is a choice we all make. Right. And you know what we always say, Don Paul? Belize and beyond. Thanks for choosing love.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from. You that you and me that me. But guess what? All are we the one. Shout all over the nation. We're breaking out with a new creation.